What's going on YouTube? So we're just getting into some true crime stories. Late night, smash the like button.
The evidence showed that cocaine was primarily packaged at the fraternity houses and that packaging was done by fraternity brothers and oftentimes pledges.
The Attorney General of Pennsylvania has just announced a bombshell criminal case against 14 people in connection with an alleged sprawling cocaine trafficking operation involving former Penn State University students and fraternities. We have the alleged evidence, the shocking allegations, and more details on how this case unfolded. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. Okay, before we jump into this, all you cat owners out there, who does not want their cat to be healthy and happy, right? Feeding them Smalls, that's the answer. Why? Look, most cat food out there is made with cheap fillers and meat byproducts and artificial ingredients. And the truth is your cat's health is paying the price. That's the way it is. But Smalls is different. Their recipes are made with preservative-free, 100% human-grade ingredients that you would find right in your fridge. Look, cats rely on protein for energy. They also need a lot of hydration to stay healthy and toned. And Smalls contains at least 80% animal protein, and their fresh ingredients are gently cooked to retain all their nutrients, their hydration, and their flavor. 88% of cat parents report that after feeding them Smalls, their cats have better digestion and shinier coats and more energy to play. Experts have also been raving about it. Forbes ranked Smalls the best overall cat food. BuzzFeed reviewers reported that their cats went ballistic for this stuff. So your cat's health starts with what they eat. Try Smalls, get 60% off your first order plus free shipping and treats for life when you go to smalls.com/sidebar.
Between 2023 and 2024, large amounts of cocaine, kilos, were brought from Philadelphia and New York to State College, where they were cut and packaged for sale primarily to Penn State students. The two main dealers, the top of the chain, if you will, were senior members of the Delta, Upsilon, and Sigma Chi fraternities.
That is Pennsylvania Attorney General Dave Sunday announcing criminal charges against 13 former Penn State University students and a student's father. So you're talking 14 people in total, all in connection with this alleged cocaine trafficking operation that was occurring through two off-campus fraternity houses. And as laid out at yesterday's press conference and on the AG's website, Agostino Abatiello and Thomas Robinson are accused of being at the top, the big fish, the main suppliers who would make these trips to Philadelphia and New York for these large quantities of cocaine. And as we'll get into, it's that alleged travel, that alleged sophistication, that alleged complexity, which adds to the charges. Now, keep all this in mind, okay? Because I have a lot more detail from a court filing that I will get into, okay? And as I pledged you before, I think one of the most shocking aspects of this case is that pledges, so fraternity pledges, you know, the freshman students who are trying to be accepted into a fraternity, that they were allegedly directed to cut and package the cocaine. Now, here's a better sense of the charges as presented to a grand jury. Remember, a grand jury, the standard is really low to get back criminal charges, right? There has to be sufficient probable cause. But I want you to listen to this and listen very carefully to not only the wild allegations in general and the charges, but particularly against the father, who we believe to be Paul Robinson.
Agostino Abatiello, Thomas Robinson, and two others, Mohammed Harabi and Lars Ziepfat, are charged with felony corrupt organizations because this was a coordinated and organized cocaine trafficking operation with regular trips to those source cities and large amounts of cocaine being brought back to these fraternities. They are also charged with conspiracy, dealing in proceeds of unlawful activity, and related offenses. A fifth person, Robert Zanola, is charged with felony conspiracy and criminal use of communication facility and related misdemeanors. These are the 5 primary dealers. The 8 other student-age defendants in this case have been charged with misdemeanor counts of drug possession and paraphernalia. The only non-student charge is Thomas Robinson's father, Paul Robinson, who we allege took steps to conceal evidence, including a safe containing drugs and cash, and obstruct this investigation.
And AG Sunday emphasized at least twice during this press conference that despite the gravity and the seriousness of these charges, and we'll talk about the evidence in a minute, all these players, all these defendants are innocent unless proven guilty. And I'll get into the alleged evidence in a minute, but my gosh, wow, right? And when I heard, let's say, lower tiered individuals being charged with misdemeanors, first thing I thought about is, okay, do we have potential cooperating witnesses, lower level offenses, maybe plea deals possible in the works? Can they be that connective tissue? Are they going to testify against the big fish, the organizers, the suppliers? I want you to keep that in mind when we talk about this court filing in a minute. But when you have a complex operation like this, it's about getting the masterminds, right? The ones who organized all this. But just to be clear, those charged are Agostino Abatiello, Thomas Robinson, Mohammed Harabi, Lars Zipfat, Robert Zanola, Liam Smith, Michael Brogno, Caden Howe, Connor Hurley, Seth Beardsley, Kyle Ridpath, Daniel Price, Charles Wiseman, and Paul Robinson. But a few more interesting tidbits from this presser. First of all, why are we only seeing charges now?
With the charges dating back to 2023 or the investigation, some might ask why weren't these folks arrested earlier if they were doing this amount of drugs?
So the incidents occurred during the course of 2023, 2024, and that's when obviously we then were brought in. Investigations of this nature take time. They're very detailed, and what we wanted to do was make sure that we took the time to arrest all of these individuals so that we could do our best to root out this criminal organization to stop it from being able to continue to deal cocaine in the future.
Oh, and when Sunday was asked about hazing related charges for the pledges, right, allegedly being directed to do all this, he said this is an ongoing investigation, so perhaps keeping the door open for future charges. What about the school's responsibility, the school's knowledge?
I know there may be many questions about the university in regards to these students and this conduct. This is very serious criminal conduct. There was nothing junior or childlike about this type of conduct. This was an upper-level trafficking organization for this region in Pennsylvania. In fact, multiple witnesses who testified in front of the grand jury referred to Abatiello as the largest dealer of cocaine for Penn State University students. Regarding the university's knowledge or actions in response to this conduct, in consideration of the confidential nature of the grand jury proceedings and ongoing active prosecutions, I can say this: we did not hear of any drug packaging happening on Penn State's campus. Again, the packaging happened at off-campus fraternity houses. And the actual drug dealing was largely from friend to friend, fraternity brother to fraternity brother, acquaintance to acquaintance, and at fraternity houses and or during parties or social engagements.
Seems to me kind of suggesting the university may be separated from all this, but maybe.
That's exactly what I was about to say too, Jesse Weber, because it sounds like the university is trying to distance himself from what's happening on campus. And they're trying to say these off-campus fraternities or this drug dealing or drug operation happened at off-campus frat houses, but nonetheless, the drug dealing itself happened on campus, and it was regarding students that attended that university.
A question that may arise somehow in the form of disciplinary action or maybe even litigation. I mean, the New York Post reports that Penn State has suspended Delta Upsilon while it investigates these allegations. They also announced that Sigma Chi is not recognized by the university, actually operates outside of its supervision. Andrea Dowhauer, Penn State's vice president for student affairs, had the following statement released, quote, "We are horrified by these serious allegations against current and former students. Criminal activity, including hazing such as this, has no place at our institution, and we will cooperate with law enforcement in any way we can. We will continue to enhance our efforts around health and safety and hazing educational efforts for all our organizations." Put that to the side. So accompanying this announcement was the release of an affidavit of probable cause and a statement of findings of fact from the grand jury. I want to read you sections from that because it provides a lot more details about how this whole case unfolded, how people were investigated, the evidence, the potential evidence, and more specifics of this investigation. So it says, quote, "The grand jury is investigating a case which began in September 2024, wherein Detective Donald Paul of the State College Police Department initiated an investigation into a cocaine distribution ring being operated in State College, Pennsylvania. Early in the investigation, Detective Paul was able to develop confidential informant, CI, that conducted several controlled purchases of cocaine from an individual whose sources was associated with two fraternities at Penn State University, Delta Upsilon and Sigma Chi."
This kind of reminds me of Power, guys. This Penn State drug ring case. 14 individuals was indicted on a drug ring operation that was going on for about 3 years, since 2023. And the only reason that they were able to get any type of indictment from a grand jury was because of a few confidential informants who just happened to be students at this same school, who was pretty much undercover trying to buy drugs, but they were actually confidential informants. And I'm going to say the reason why they didn't rush to so much quick judgment with the arrest when that guy asked the question earlier was because this is a prominent school, from students with prominent families. So that's pretty much why they went the grand jury way as far as trying to get the indictment, which they did. But that would be as far as to why they took about, I want to say 3 years later. They were investigating for about 2 to 3 years.
Detective Paul told the grand jury that a controlled purchase is a method used to buy illegal drugs using a CI who is under the control of law enforcement. That is exactly what I expected from this case. That's what I expected when I was listening to that press conference from AG Sunday. Using a CI, a confidential informant, or informants like this, it is key. It is key to seeing how an alleged operation worked, who was involved, creates that connective link. You're able to get the substances in question, test them, link back to who's purchasing, who's selling, who's supplying. That is a link. That is what you need in a complex organization. The filing continues. After sub-controlled purchases, Detective Paul, along with the State College Police Department, arrested Thomas Robinson, who was selling cocaine from the fraternity Delta Upsilon. Robinson was charged with the deliveries to the CI, as well as items seized after a search warrant was executed on his room at the fraternity. By the way, a defense attorney will try to, hammer away at the search warrant, hammer away at the CI, and also the circumstances surrounding that transaction, who initiated what, things like that, just to keep an eye out for. Quote, a total of 6 controlled purchases were made from Robinson between September 2024 and December 2024. Frequency matters. The drugs were sent to the Pennsylvania State Police Crime Lab for testing. This is what I talked about before. The drugs sold by Robinson were confirmed to be cocaine, and the total weight between the controlled purchases and seizure from Robinson's room totaled 73.8 grams of cocaine. After Robinson's arrest, this is key, he cooperated with law enforcement and gave information about his source of illegal narcotics. Robinson told police that Agostino Abatiello, who was a Penn State student and member of the Sigma Chi fraternity, was his source for cocaine. Robinson explained that he obtained cocaine from Abatiello on numerous occasions. So now you have an alleged positive ID of the drugs and reported cooperation from a key figure in this case. Again, I go back to the idea, potential deal for testimony, if it's on the table, but you have alleged confessions, statements, and while potentially subject to defense attorneys trying to quash those, keep them out of a trial, it could be said to be potentially damning evidence, right? Particularly if these are recorded interviews with Robinson. But to give you an idea of these alleged purchases, it says, quote, he detailed 6 larger transactions that took place between January 2024 and September 2024. The first 2 purchases of cocaine from Abatiello were for between 6 and 8 ounces on each transaction. The third purchase took place around March 19, 2024, when Robinson purchased 500 grams from Abatiello for $18,000. The date was confirmed using a photo on Robinson's phone, wherein several pledges of Delta Upsilon were assisting Robinson in packaging the cocaine into smaller baggies for distribution. We don't know exactly what that photo is, but if it purports to show what they're claiming it shows, you know how that could be important evidence, how that could be compelling evidence. And particularly the metadata, you can determine when that photo was taken. And in terms of the payment, in terms of the money trail, keep that in mind too. I'm going to get to that. Quote, Robinson's last drug purchase from Abatiello occurred around September 2024 when he purchased an additional kilogram of cocaine for $22,000. A lot of money here. The date was confirmed because the sale took place on a weekend of a home football game at Penn State University. Now, here's the part where the grand jury lists out the alleged connective tissue of the players, the defendants. Quote, Robinson explained that he first met Abatiello through Muhammad.
In college, but not that smart to know someone buying that kind of excessive amount, and you don't know these people from a can of paint. That turns out to be that smells like a CI to me, but they don't have any street smart, so they wouldn't know that. I mean, 6 to 8 ounces, $22,000. Like they really wasn't catching on. They were being set up.
Ahmed Harabi, who I mentioned before. Harabi was one of Robinson's fraternity brothers at Delta Upsilon. Harabi first introduced Robinson to cocaine at the fraternity house. Around December 2022, Harabi first started selling cocaine to other brothers within the house after taking over for another fraternity brother. In July 2023, Harabi approached Robinson and asked him to become business partners in distributing cocaine. When Robinson and Harabi returned to school in the fall of 2023, they started buying drugs together. Initially, Harabi acquired drugs from Abatiello, and later he introduced Robinson so that he could purchase directly from Abatiello. Harabi testified before the grand jury that in the fall of 2023, so now you're talking about a cooperating witness, again, I go back to this idea of plea deals, he set up the first purchase of cocaine from Abatiello using Snapchat, a messaging application on his phone. The agreement was to purchase around 100 grams of cocaine for $4,000. Robinson and Harabi both contributed cash for the purchase. Snapchat, you're talking about a potential digital money trail, digital records for the prosecution. Now, the defendants would have to explain the substance of those conversations, the payments, their purposes. That's key evidence. Quote, Abatiello brought the drugs to Delta Upsilon and delivered 100 grams of cocaine to Harabi in exchange for cash. Harabi's plan for the cocaine was to repackage it in half-gram bags to sell for profit. Robinson and Harabi would both make a commission off the sale of bags of cocaine. Harabi and Robinson then sold the individual bags to other fraternity members or friends. Robinson and Harabi would communicate with one another whenever the bags were sold to keep track of their profits. As the drug business grew, Robinson utilized brothers of the fraternity to assist him in his drug operation. In fall of 2024, Connor Hurley and Michael Brogna, brothers at Delta Upsilon, assisted Robinson by packaging cocaine and delivering bags of cocaine to individuals for purchase. Additionally, Ryan Matson, who was described as Robinson's best friend, was also an integral part of Robinson's drug distribution network. Matson would assist Robinson in picking up drugs from Abatiello and in distributing cocaine. Interestingly, I don't believe I mentioned Matson as one of the people who's currently facing criminal charges, right? Lars Ziepvat was identified as another business partner of Abatiello. Ziepvat was a brother at the fraternity Sigma Chi. Ziepvat and Abatiello were close friends and worked closely together in distributing drugs. Ziepvat explained that he was a cocaine user, and when he first came to Penn State, he had a source for cocaine in Philadelphia. He would get cocaine from his source in Philadelphia for himself and some of his fraternity brothers, including Abatiello. Initially, Ziepvat and Abatiello were buying between 3.5 to 7 ounces of cocaine from his Philadelphia source. After a short time, his source would no longer talk to him, so he and Abatiello sought out a new source. Abatiello then found a source in his hometown in New York that would supply them with larger amounts of cocaine. Zipvat testified, again, maybe another cooperating witness, that once a source was obtained in New York around spring 2023, Abatiello made a large purchase for 100 grams of cocaine. Once he made this large purchase, Zipvat described a shift in Abatiello, and it was clear to him that Abatiello was now selling drugs for profit rather than sourcing it for himself and a few friends. Abatiello branched out from selling cocaine within the fraternity house and extended outside the house to other fraternities and students. On another occasion, in spring 2023, Abatiello asked Zipvat and Robert Zanola, another Sigma Chi brother, to make a trip with him to New York to re-up his supply of cocaine. At the time, Zanola was already purchasing cocaine from Abatiello. Abatiello offered Zanola between $500 to $1,000 to make the trip to get cocaine. Zipvat stated that Abatiello paid half the purchase price ahead of the trip, and Zanola paid for the rest in cash. Zipvat and Zanola took 3 trips to purchase large quantities of drugs for Abatiello. They would drive to location based on an address given to them from Abatiello. A man would deliver a bag with cocaine in it to either Zipvat or Zanola, and they would return with the bag to State College and give it to Abatiello. Zipvat and Zanola received payment for making the trip from Abatiello in either cash or a cheaper price for cocaine. Zipvat explained that after Abatiello would get a large supply of cocaine, he would bring the drugs to Sigma Chi and have other brothers and pledges assist him in preparing and packaging the cocaine for resale. When Zipvat and Zanola would return with a supply of cocaine for Abatiello, he would utilize fraternity brothers or his roommates when he later moved to an off-campus apartment to assist him in cutting up the cocaine and packaging it in smaller amounts to distribute. So what you're seeing in these allegations is the level of sophistication, pattern, travel, money, payments, organization, which would help support the charges like we mentioned before: felony, corrupt organizations, conspiracy, which is essentially a criminal agreement, dealing in the proceeds of unlawful activity. Quote, Zipvat stated that during 2023 to 2024, Abatiello was the largest distributor of cocaine at Penn State University. Wow. He stated that Abatiello would boast about how much money he was making from selling cocaine. Who did he allegedly make these statements to? Could they be witnesses? Zipvat explained Abatiello loaned him $1,500 so that he and other fraternity brothers could attend a spring break trip. Zipvat stated that Abatiello then made him deliver cocaine for him when he couldn't pay back the loan. I also wonder if any of this is documented in text messages. Zipvat detailed other individuals, including Andrew Acker, who owed Abatiello thousands of dollars after taking a loan from him. Acker was another individual who was selling cocaine for Abatiello. And I do wonder, the more people that are connected, affected, allegedly involved, or communing with Abatiello, the more potential witnesses in this case. Quote, Acker began purchasing cocaine from Abatiello in late fall 2023, spring 2024, after becoming a fraternity brother at Sigma Chi. Acker described Abatiello as one of the bigger drug dealers at Penn State. Acker began selling cocaine for Abatiello to make extra cash. Acker explained that he would often use Cash App to pay Abatiello for the cocaine that he was distributing, and he believed the amount of those transactions to total around $30,000. In total, though, Acker believes that between cash and digital transactions, he paid Abatiello over $50,000 for drugs. Cash App, digital evidence, digital records. Again, this could be tough for a defense attorney. Innocent unless proven guilty, but just talking about potential evidence here. Now, here's how this filing concludes. Quote, several witnesses testified before the grand jury that they purchased cocaine on numerous occasions from Abatiello during their time at Penn State between January 2023 and August 2024. Many of the witnesses also either assisted or observed Abatiello preparing cocaine for sale by cutting it from a larger form to smaller individual bags for distribution. The consensus among the witnesses, and by the way, we don't know how many testified, but the consensus among the witnesses that testified before the grand jury is that Abatiello was the main dealer of cocaine at Penn State during this time frame, and he was making considerable amounts of money in the business. Abatiello has continued to distribute cocaine among his friends as recently as February 2026. Additionally, when he learned that individuals were being interviewed by law enforcement about drug dealing at Penn State, he begged them not to talk about his involvement. I don't know how they plan to prove that, but if there's some sort of communications or witness testimony, Look, that's a deeply, deeply unsettling set of allegations. By the way, I can report right now, just came out that according to CBS 4 News, investigators say that Mr. Abatiello has turned himself into authorities, that he was arraigned on multiple counts, as we talk, drug possession, conspiracy charges. They also report that according to online court records, Abatiello is now being held without bail. I don't see, as of this recording, a statement from his lawyer or lawyers, but we'll see. I do want to go back, though, for a second to AG Sunday from that press conference, where he explained why this is such a big deal, what to say to parents that are concerned about this.
With regard to parents that might be watching this and thinking about what's happening at the school, I just want to say this. There is no city, county, community that exists that doesn't have to deal with issues such as drug use, drug dealing, addiction, and things of that nature. This is something that occurs all throughout our country and all throughout the world. And that being said, we take it very, very seriously, which is why we conducted this investigation, which is why we filed the charges we filed. And I will say that not only have we filed these charges, but I promise you that we will be watching. For students who think about going to college, being away from home for the first time, and having an opportunity to kind of do what they want, they need to understand that there are always going to be ramifications for your actions. And just because you're at college and you're making money and you think that this is something you can get away with, it's not. It's extremely serious. Law enforcement takes it extremely seriously, and we will continue to investigate and prosecute individuals that decide to deal drugs on college campuses.
All right, so what a development. Had to bring it to you. Big shocking news, series of allegations. Again, they're all innocent unless proven guilty. But my gosh, a lot to think about. That's all we have for you right now here on Sidebar, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. As always, please subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you should get your podcasts. You can also check us out on NBC's Peacock as well. If you want to follow me, X, Instagram, my News Nation show, Jesse Weber Live, Monday through Friday, 11 p.m. Eastern. See you next time, everybody.
All right, so that was the first true crime story. Preppy college white boys pretty much running a whole drug organization and got caught. $14 individuals. Actually, and one of the fathers, who's actually a lawyer, was the one covering it up and is being charged himself. So now we're about to get into the second story, which is the Florida teacher, Heather Mashburn-Smith. Hold on.
Do you have anything on you?
No, I just have tissues.
Newly released body cam video of a teacher busted for allegedly having sex with an underage student multiple times in her classroom.
Can you just show us where in the room the sexual activity took place?
And let me tell you, this body cam video is shocking because this teacher did not hold back when explaining to deputies what she allegedly did, and boy, does she go into detail. We're on the case presented by Law and Crime. I'm Chris Stewart. Guys, not only is this body cam video shocking because we are talking about a teacher who's accused of allegedly having sex with an underage student on school property, specifically in her classroom. But court records also say that this teacher told the boy that she would leave her husband for him when he turned 18 years old. She is 37.
Wow.
A little bit further if you can. I'm going to start with your hair, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Get wrong.
And yes, women can be sick individuals also, because she's having an affair with her high school student.
Yeah.
Now, the teacher you see here being patted down in a high school hallway is Heather Mashburn-Smith, and she taught English at Port Charlotte High School in Florida. Deputies were called to the school because a message came in on an app. It's an app that allows parents to communicate with school district staff, and the message was allegedly about Mashburn having sex with a student.
Unlock the door. Nobody's been in it.
Okay. This is video of deputies entering a classroom with Mashburn. Now, deputies also spoke with the alleged victim in this case. He's 17 years old, and the boy told them that Mashburn had sex with him twice in her classroom, allegedly once on a desk and once on a chair. The student said this relationship became sexual after he was allegedly put on a group chat on Snapchat with Mashburn and a friend. He reportedly said that he told Heather that he thought she was pretty. It reads, quote, Heather then asked to come meet her in her classroom to talk about the messages. He said he complimented her during the conversation and they spoke about the group texts. Now, deputies asked Mashburn what happened, and they read her Miranda rights, and she tells them and she shows them a lot.
Can you just show us where in the room the sexual activity took place?
Yeah. So,
Without trying not to touch anything, I realize it's been a while, like 9 days or so. But
it felt farther back here, but
Good evening, everybody in the chat. Rainbow skies. Yeah, I agree. After hearing that, that's beyond disgusting and sickening.
these desks might have just been moved farther this way. But I feel like it was these desks.
okay. And just
Something
for
wrong
the
with her.
record,
She got learned disability or something?
after the sexual activity occurred, you had wiped these desks down with Clorox.
Just this one
That one.
and like the floor area, but I don't know why everything seems so different. It seemed like it was like more here that it happened, but not here. So I think everything shifted a little bit. Everything slides a lot during the day because the kids don't push their chairs out. They push the desk forward. So the desks get moved around a lot. But I think these might have just been moved farther because originally I was thinking it was those, but that doesn't make sense to me.
Okay.
So I'm pretty sure it was these ones.
And is this the one where he had just put in, or is this okay? And then where else? Where was the other actual?
Like right here in a chair.
What the chair?
Oh, like, would it be a student chair?
Yeah, it was just a random chair.
Okay, so it's not this one that's pointing right there towards
No.
towards the mirror?
Okay. All right. And so I know you stated you were on top of him. Were you facing or facing away?
I was facing him.
Facing him, and were you facing this back
So
wall,
I was-
side wall?
I was facing this way and he was facing that way. The chair was facing that way.
Okay.
So I was like sitting on top of him.
Okay. And then regarding the digital and the, where would that have happened?
Everything happened right here.
Kind of right in this same area.
Mhm.
Okay. Were these desks always involved? Like just leaning on, or?
I mean, I guess you can say sometimes we leaned on them, yeah. But, I mean, as far as the intercourse goes, this was the desk I leaned back on.
And was
I really want to know why they're asking all these intricate, nasty ass details. Like, I don't think we need a walkthrough of where you did it, how you did it, and what was on the floor. And do we really need to hear all of that? Just put the cuffs on her. If you're able to explain all of this disgusting detail, just, where is the cuffs?
the desk, I assume, oriented the same way, although maybe slid over?
Slid over.
Okay. And did you lay on it from the front this way, from the back this way, or from the side?
This way.
Okay. And he would have stood here?
Mhm.
Okay.
What's the relevancy to all of this?
During the actual sex part.
So I'm going to pause this video right here. You have Mashburn, who is explaining to deputies where alleged sexual abuse happened in her classroom. And she is being very specific about it. She is going into very, very explicit detail. And frankly, it's too graphic to talk about right here. So we're going to pick this video up right after she finishes that description.
And where were you waiting for whenever you guys were coordinating to be in the class? After planning period or after his football?
Just at my desk.
Just at your desk?
And then when he would come from football, there was like once or twice where I put a book in the door so that he could just come in. But all the other times he had to knock and I had to let him in. So I would have to walk over to the door to let him in.
Okay.
And it's not like I let him in and we just like went right to it or anything. Like,
No, you guys.
would hug and talk and
Kissing and all.
Yeah. Like I said, it was not premeditated sex.
Okay, similar to what we did with that interview on the.
How can you say it's not premeditated, lady, when you clearly got up in the morning and that was this lady's dumb.
The second interview after you've written the letters and stuff, I'm just going to ask you a couple of questions. First of all, did we promise you anything?
No.
Are you here giving this information of your own free will?
Yes.
Okay. Did we make any threats or coercion? Okay. And you understand that you're still under oath and everything that you told us is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay. And you've already been advised of your rights. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And just final recap, everything that you've told us in here has been information that you freely and voluntarily gave, understanding your rights.
Yes.
Okay. All right. All right, cool. That's it. All right, we're going to go ahead and head back. You can keep going.
Hey guys, real quick, before we get into this episode of On the Case even more, I want to talk about personal information online. And you may not realize just how many websites have your personal info and the fact it is being bought and sold on the internet. We're talking your phone number, address, health information, even your social security number. Now, thankfully, Incognito can help.
Skip these ads.
I used to do some writing to clear my thoughts after sometimes when things would happen. And I might have like a piece of writing in a folder on my desk. Am I allowed to get that? Because I don't want like a student or a teacher or something coming across.
Where would it be?
I won't touch it, but I'll show you. And there's a folder here, like right here.
Is this the dark colored folder?
Yeah.
Okay. And you think that has?
There's
that might
nothing
have
like
something-
graphic in it, but it's just like thoughts that I would write as if I were writing to him.
Okay. To
But I never,
who?
but I would never like give it to him. Like I really just want to throw it in the trash. It's not anything that.
I'm sure you do want to throw it in the trash to get rid of evidence, man.
What were you thinking?
I just don't
No,
want someone
but,
to come across it.
It's hers. So, do you want to, in our presence, do you want to open that folder and show us what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Adam?
I just stuck it in here because I thought it would be.
Are these pages the ones that we're talking about?
These right here. Yeah. This stuff that I wrote. I write in my spare time, so it's not.
You're an English teacher.
Yeah. So.
Okay.
Am I allowed to keep these or dispose of them or?
May I?
Yeah. It's not something I even said I don't think I'll ever give them to you.
So they were to him just regarding
but,
what your feelings
but like
are?
not. It was to him.
I understand.
But not to him.
I get it.
Like a diary.
Yes.
Yes, okay.
So first she wanted to get rid of them, now she want to keep
We
them.
are not just
So
going to leave these here, but I can't.
that's the thing. First she wanted to get rid of them, now she wanted to keep them.
Just let you take them away, okay? They're going to fall under the search warrant, okay? So For now, we're just going to leave them right here, but I assure you, we're not just going to leave them for students or staff members to find. Okay. We'll take them, we'll seize them, and that'll be part of it. Okay.
Okay.
Is there anything else that you can think of that's in here that might be something that you don't want other people stumbling across?
Exactly.
There were no toys or anything that were used during the whole time, nothing like that. Okay. Just something I figured I'd ask. Like,
Yeah.
you never know. Okay.
I mean, my desk is full of trash, but
I'm not worried about trash, just something that, we don't want.
I mean,
people-
full of papers. I'm just like, I'm sure there's confidential stuff in there, but nothing about him.
Okay. All right.
There's definitely confidential, like, stuff, but nothing that has to do with him.
When you say confidential stuff,
Like student-related things and
anything that would be criminal in nature.
no, just like stuff that we're not supposed to let other students see. Like,
I see. Okay.
yeah.
I haven't heard of no teacher-student confidentiality agreement, so I don't know what she means. It's confidential stuff. Like, what are you referring to, ma'am? Break it. Be more specific with it. Confidential stuff.
But that's stuff that school administration could handle.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. And then just personal items and things.
Okay. All right. Well, we're not. So we're gonna step out here at this point. We're gonna step out to the hallway, please. We're not gonna be taking anything out of here other than it's not the time for personal.
And where are they gloves at though? Like standard procedure.
Actually, I'll put on the mic. I just wanted you to point. I know he's still talking, but so you were saying, what's?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, she told us.
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't even do more than search. They also need to confiscate as well too. They just talking about saying we're not going to take it. We're just going to leave it here. No, you need to take certain things, not just a quick look-see and just leave things there as it is. Because she's clearly hiding something in that book, talking about some confidential stuff. I've never heard of teacher-student confidentiality. I've heard of attorney-client privilege. But if it's just about grades or homework, that's nothing to be hiding and sneaky about. And they are taking her so gentle, like they're being so gentle with her as well too. But look at the demographic. I mean, what would you?
I know, that's why I was like,
that's sad, but when you think about it, look at the cops and the victim. I mean, not the victim, but the defendant and the cops.
like.
So it appears Mashburn is being very forthcoming with officers, even with messages she says that she deleted from her computer. The next part of the body cam that we're going to show you here is when she first entered the classroom and she opens up her email. She puts up on a projector screen messages she says she deleted from her computer, but she's showing them to deputies and she is passing them along to them to help in their investigation.
Okay, that's the IP.
This is the IP.
Can you scroll up? All right, so I see it's from Hi, and the email address assigned to it is.
And the sad part is that this lady is married, have a whole husband, and she big 37. And she's up here filling this kid's head, telling him she's gonna leave her husband for him when he turns 18.
The message states, "I know it's bro, bro."
They can do something better with that bleeping though. They didn't have to put that. They can use something in exchange. That's hurting my ears a little bit. I know, ain't that crazy, y'all? Have a whole husband, or had. This is recent. This was as of April 29, 2026. So this was a few months ago.
And this came through Parent Square, sent via a form on the Port Charlotte High School website. Parent Square is not responsible for the contents and assumes no liability for the message. And you had put this message in trash, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Are you willing to forward this message to the Charlotte County Sheriff's Office?
Yes.
Okay.
Take my email.
Yeah.
Here, I have a card. It's easier to type. And 2 last names. We'll just the email address.
Not at this time. I don't have anything to compare it to. Correct. And a time frame. not the specific date, but it's been like 2 weeks.
Does that look right?
Yep, that's it. Fair enough. So thank you. All right. And that was the only thing you need to show us?
Yeah, let me just make sure I haven't gotten anything else weird. Oh, here's another one.
All right, this one is, so this is from phone 1, message, why boys bra, submitted from IP address 172.56.18.98, comma, 10.0.10.59. Sent through the same application form on the Port Charlotte website. Can you forward that as well? To the same address.
Hopefully it's saved, so you don't have to type all of it. Oh.
There, you put a T in between the F and L.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Good.
Yep.
I'm back, gang. Had to give me something to drink.
Okay.
And
If
then
you would.
I should check my
This is actually happening more and more often now when I think about it, because I follow this channel like religiously on YouTube, Law and Crime. And a lot of these videos, it is more so women pedophiles now having affairs with I've seen, like, before I even clicked on this particular video, I had to pick between which one I wanted to show because it was that many options. That's the sad part. Like, I had seen like at least 3-4 of different one of these like type of videos where it was a teacher. Well, I'm sorry, it was a female and a guy as the victim. So it happens, you know, women can be pedos too. They can be sick individuals, but that's crazy that just before I even clicked on this video, like I had like 5-6 different choices and they were all recent.
I guess we'll do a clutter, but I don't think, yeah, there's nothing weird in here.
If you would just go ahead and lock the computer then.
Yeah, can I just log out of it? Is that okay? Or like
You
close
can
it?
just lock it.
Okay.
Whatever you had, however you found it is how I prefer you to leave it.
Okay.
The alleged victim in this case told deputies that he felt like having a sexual relationship with Mashburn was wrong. He said that things became sexual with the teacher for roughly 4 to 5 weeks. Mashburn allegedly told deputies that the victim made her feel special and, quote, desired. Now, the victim, though, he was the one who tried to break things off with her. Quote, Heather told him that she was not in a good marriage and that she wanted to leave her husband and be with him. We're talking about the alleged victim once he turned 18. The victim also said that Heather, a 37-year-old married English teacher, was, quote, angry that he wanted to end their relationship. Now, this is the moment that deputies put her in handcuffs.
Are you gonna want to keep your sweater on or get a call?
If that's okay.
Okay, yeah, just roll up your sleeves then. That's all I was gonna ask. It's just, yeah, just roll up your sleeves.
She's a master manipulator. Definitely. Groomer 101.
Alright, just turn around for me.
Five.
I'm not gonna be very comfortable.
You still talking? Okay.
This one's a little tight.
Yeah, I heard you. Give me 1 second, sorry.
Snap. My bad. Yeah, it's about time because they could have got. I feel like they could have got all that information down at the station, and they didn't have to do a whole guide walkthrough, should I say, of how and what she did, and you know all of that.
You didn't go through. Oh,
Senator from Whitehall.
And I want to question, where was the other teachers and the other people in the school? Because this happened at the school. She described it in her classroom, nonetheless, talking about on the desk and on the floor, things like that. But where was the other people in the school? Like, I guess, the students, teachers, any part of the faculty, I guess, custodians, something, I guess, how did this go unheard of or unnoticed?
Good.
Yeah.
Who's primary on 15? Those two, or just show them to the 15 also.
Fernandez is primary.
Can you roll my sleeves back down? Can you roll my sleeves back down?
Fernandez will be his 10-15. 3?
Yeah.
Let's roll.
I'm just taking my stuff.
451 for you.
Oh,
451. Got it.
Yeah, come on, right back.
You're good with that plus Anderson. Okay, all right, yeah, if you're working on that, any fruits of the crime, any additional fruits of the crime.
cut through the building or around? You want to cut through the building or around? I guess we'll go around. Yeah, I can do that. Hey, if you want to hang tight in here, I'll pull my car up to this gate because there's football practice and stuff going on.
Damn, it's a long ass walk. That's actually a good point you made, Rainbow Skies, because it is a double standard with that too. I'm glad you just said that. And that's the point that I was trying to make earlier, is like, I'm seeing more of it of women now. And I was just saying, before I clicked on this video, I had to choose an option of like 4 or 5, between 5 to 6 different videos of the same situation, same case. And it's not okay whether it's male, female, women, male, and vice versa. So I agree with you.
Zone 1, channel 1.
Grab them seatbelts on her too, would you?
Yep.
Unlawful activity with.
I want to see how much time she got.
Heather Mashburn-Smith was charged with unlawful activity with certain minors. The charge was enhanced to a first-degree felony because of her position as a teacher. She was arrested on April 29th of this year. Now, in response to her arrest, the Charlotte County Public Schools superintendent said this, quote, The actions of this individual are a direct violation of the duty every educator owes to students and families. We will not tolerate anything that compromises student safety. This individual has been placed on administrative leave as we work closely with law enforcement and pursue full accountability. Our focus remains on protecting our students and responding decisively.
But why administrative leave and not termination? I mean, I guess, are you just waiting for a conviction in court? Because you don't necessarily need that to terminate somebody from your employment or place of employment. And the school should not hesitate, should not be, they would want to be more, forthcoming to do that only because of what happened at their place of business as far as the school is concerned. So I'm saying, why would they just want to suspend her for that?
Then you have the Charlotte County Sheriff who added this, quote, "What this woman has done is not just unlawful, it is damaging to the students and staff around her. Teachers are meant to be people that students can trust and seek out for mentorship, guidance, and encouragement. This individual took advantage of that vulnerability and preyed on one of the people she was entrusted to protect. We take that very seriously in Charlotte County, and I applaud my major crimes detectives for their quick and appropriate actions to intervene, investigate, and make an arrest." Now, at the time of this recording, Mashburn-Smith, according to online court records, is still locked up in the Charlotte County Jail. She does have a case management hearing scheduled for August 25th. That will do it for this episode of On the Case, presented by Law and Crime. Subscribe to us on YouTube and Spotify, and we're also streaming on Peacock. I'm Chris Stewart. We'll see you next time.
Something tell me that the punishment is not going to fit the crime in that situation with her. I'm just feeling like that's not severe enough to me. It might be first degree felony, but I feel like they need to add on some other charges than that. But let me get into the last story of the night, which is the Ohio House of Horrors for this sick, sadistic family. She said they should give teachers mental health evaluation because before they can become a teacher. Oh, yeah, absolutely. And that's where they're thriving now in that community now. It's just more so now than ever. I think, I want to say 3 days ago, a teacher out in Warren, not too far from, kind of like a small outskirt town, or a small town on the outskirts of Detroit, where it was a teacher in Macomb County charged with at CSC. Then it was another teacher out in Oakland County. And then it was also a student counselor charged with the same. It was just like, they just kept going back to back to back. It was like, damn. It's like they know where to go, and they know where to thrive, because they were all from schools. That's what was crazy about it. I'm like, this one was a teacher, that one was a teacher, this one was a counselor, and one was a principal. So I'm like, damn. Hold on. Yeah, one was a principal, one, they were all at schools, but they just out here. Hold on, gang. Don't forget to hit the like button. We just vibing out, watching some true crime stories. I'm about to find the third story if I can get it pulled up. Okay, here we go. All right, here we go. Here we go. Now I see why homeschooling is just more now common than it used to be. And when some parents make that decision, I gotta agree with them on that, because you can't do anything no more. I was talking to one of my coworkers the other day, and she's a little older, but we were just talking about, you can't do this no more. You can't go to the park no more. You can't go to the mall no more. You can't go out to eat no more. You can't go to school no more. It's like, what can we do? And see, my generation, we got to experience the best of everything when it came to childhood. I will say, I told my mama this the other day. I'm like, we actually had a good childhood, better than this generation, because they cannot experience the same things that we could. We could play in the when the fire hydrant broke open. We can get on the bus and go to the mall and look forward to it, or go to the park. We can go to the penny candy store, things like that. They can't do none of that. They can't do none of that. But I don't even want to get started on the 90s and the early 2000s, because I'll be here all night with y'all. So, but that's the kind of talk I was having with my coworker the other day. When she was having some type of issue, type of problems with her young son, and I was pretty much doing the comparison. Like, it's different when I was that age, because it was the times where we had fun. Now it's just like, it's more so these YNs are just out here wilding out. All right, so this is the Ohio House of Horrors. I'm pretty sure a lot of people have heard about this story, but we're about to catch up on it. The Sider family, the crazy Sider family. We're going to get into that.
Teen children accused of hiding her children and causing them serious harm, wants out of jail. But the prosecutor says Elizabeth should stay put. I'll tell you all of the reasons why. I'm Anjanette Levy, and this is Crime Fix. Elizabeth Siders has been in jail since June 30th, going on 2 months now, and she wants out. Who wouldn't? Elizabeth.
My bad. I didn't even see the people in the chat. Hey, welcome in, Nicole. Welcome in. Everybody in the bushes, smash the like button as well. We just watching some true crime stories and just vibing out, catching up.
Attorney has asked the judge to modify her bail, but the prosecutor has now responded in writing, and William Archer is essentially saying, not so fast, judge. Keep her in. And his reasons for that are interesting, to say the very least. I'm going to go through all of this for you. Elizabeth's husband, Gary Siders Jr., and her mother-in-law, Christina Siders, are still in jail too. Christina Siders' lawyer has also asked that she be released on bail. Gary Siders Sr. is out of jail on a signature bond. The 73-year-old grandfather was released from jail because he has a serious medical condition. And since he was in jail, the county would have been responsible for his medical bills. And the prosecutor said those medical bills could have caused the county to go bankrupt. That's how poor Vinton County is. One inmate's
So that's how he got bailed, because y'all can't afford it and because y'all poor? So they had no choice but to let him out on bail because of his medical conditions. Wow. But it's okay to abuse children in his medical condition, and yet he's still in the damn wheelchair. I can't.
Medical bills could have sent the county into a financial tailspin. But right now, the county is responsible for the care of Elizabeth Siders.
It's nice to know that the county is more concerned about their dollars that they're, quote unquote, losing or investing in, rather than the victims who endured the years of abuse in that house. Because he just got to get out of a jail-free card, pretty much.
The mother of the 16 children, her husband, Gary Jr., and her mother-in-law, Christina Siders. In the booking video of Elizabeth from June 30th, she was noticeably the only Siders family member who wasn't handcuffed. Just looking at her, her body language appeared to be much different from her husband's and her in-laws. She cowered. Her shoulders were rounded, and she was practically hunched over. She seemed scared. This, coupled with how Elizabeth appeared in court and in her booking photo, and the fact that she had 18 children over about 18 years, made people wonder and question whether Elizabeth was the victim of something nefarious. When asked by a local TV station whether Elizabeth Siders was a victim, her lawyer, Tommy Stolle, said Elizabeth didn't consider herself a victim, but he was still looking into that possibility. Here's what Prosecutor William Archer said when asked whether Elizabeth was a victim at a press conference back on July 8th.
According to her attorney, she's not a victim. So we'll let him decide how he wants to address his representation of her.
So it doesn't appear at this point that William Archer's opinion has changed because he has formally.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure I heard that correctly. And thank you for putting that number in the chat, because I was like 18 children. Like, wow.
Objected to any modification of Elizabeth's bond as it stands right now.
Welcome in, Keisha.
Archer wrote in a memorandum opposing the request for bail modification. This court should deny the bond modification for several reasons. First, the defendant is facing multiple serious pending charges, multiple F2s involving serious physical harm to her children, and thus is a flight risk and a potential risk to the victims in this case. Second, the defendant has filed a competency motion. Consequently, she is at personal risk until her competency is known. Third, the defendant has new serious felony charges that will be considered by the grand jury. Did you catch that last part? William Archer wrote that Elizabeth Siders has new serious felony charges that will be considered by the grand jury. That sounds like those charges are in addition to the 16 child endangering charges she already faces. Judge Rogers has already ordered a competency evaluation for Elizabeth Siders at the request of her lawyer. The evaluation will also include an evaluation to determine whether Elizabeth Siders has a.
Y'all think she playing? Because I kind of feel like, I don't know. She's, I don't know, 16 charges though, and she's facing more, but she has 18 children. That's crazy.
Mental illness that would make her not guilty by reason of insanity. Tommy Stolley had said previously that Elizabeth Siders wants to be released from jail so she can be reunited with her children, but that seems highly unlikely to happen anytime soon. Vinton County is actually seeking permanent custody of the children. Let me tell you, running a business is really
I mean, I feel like that should have been taking place during the arrest when this story first broke, because this has happened over a few months ago, I believe.
tough, but why make it harder doing things manually or relying on dozens of apps that don't talk to each other? That's where our sponsor, Odoo, comes in. Odoo is an all-in-one business management platform with a full suite of integrated apps that seamlessly connect all of your operations, from sales and accounting to manufacturing and even shipping. Odoo can automatically generate professional, sleek-looking sales orders, invoices, and vendor bills. And it can automatically pay for free at odoo.com/crimefix. And there's also news about Christina Siders and her request for a bail modification. We'll get to that in just a moment. But first, I want to bring in Ron O'Brien. He is the former prosecutor of Franklin County, Ohio. That's in Columbus, Ohio, to the north of Vinton County. Ron, thanks so much for coming back on.
Oh, very glad to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you. I'm really interested in your thoughts on this prosecutor, William Archer, coming out after all of these weeks and weeks after these requests for bail modifications were filed, and saying, we oppose any bail modification for these three reasons. And the first reason being, you know, one of the three reasons he gave for Elizabeth Siders, at least, was the fact that the issue of her competency has been raised. What do you make of that?
Well, I think first, in order to do a competency exam, the psychologists like to control the location and have it in a controlled setting. And if she was released on bond too, there's no assurance that she would meet the examiner at the time and place identified. So examiners like to interview the suspect and give them any tests, psychological or otherwise, while they're in the county jail. If they're going to be released on bond later, that's up to the court.
So she's going with the insanity defense, pretty much, claiming to be insane or mentally ill. So she says. But watching her behavior and mannerisms, that's why I was kind of like, do you think she's playing, or she really is, or she really does have? those type of problems. It's kind of hard to tell.
But I think they prefer that controlled atmosphere.
As things stand right now, we know what we know. We know that the 16 children were taken from the house on June 30th. We know that that 3 of the adults remain in jail. The children are in therapeutic foster care. This prosecutor knows a whole heck of a lot more than we do. He knows the inner workings of the investigation, what brought them there in the first place. He is calling Elizabeth a flight risk. Her attorney, on the other hand, has said that she doesn't have any money. She can't post bail, so you should just let her out and put a GPS bracelet on her. So is there maybe some?
That's not how it works, because she doesn't have any money. No. What about the victims? Like, they just forgetting about that. So no, she doesn't need to be out and just wear an ankle monitor. I don't think an ankle monitor would do anything in her situation.
Thing this prosecutor is hearing on jail calls that she's might be saying to family members that's really raising his concern that she could potentially flee.
Well, I'm quite sure he's listening to any jail calls by her as well as the others. They're permitted to do that and have a big sign next to the jail telephone that the calls are monitored. Typically, they don't listen to phone calls between the defendant and their own lawyer, but
Sure.
he's on there talking to family or friends. They are picking that up. Interesting that he also identified her as a flight risk, and I don't know what they would know that we don't know. They obviously are aware of some investigative information, but she doesn't have any money. She doesn't have, I don't think, a bunch of outside support. I'm not sure where she would go either. The crime scene.
Then to keep her in jail. If you don't have any of those things lined up, it's no reason to be walking the streets, man. I mean, you're already being accused of these crimes.
Itself, there's a whole lot of reasons where she doesn't have stability should she be released. But on top of that, she's looking at multiple up to 16 second-degree felonies that have maximum penalties of 8 years. So she's looking at decades in prison, and that's enough motive to flee, or at least for the state to argue that she has a reason to flee.
Keep her locked up.
William Archer also said that
she looked like the type that'll run off too, and that's just my opinion. She looked like the type that'll flee if given its opportunity to get bail. I don't think she should. And if you get indicted on more charges, that's all the more reason to keep you locked up.
Elizabeth is a potential risk to the victims in this case. Now, these potential victims, the 16 children ranging in age from age 18 to 1.5, they're all in therapeutic foster care. So you would hope that, she's not going to be able to learn their location since she is accused of endangering the children. But this is interesting to me that
hold on. So she has 18 children from what this is showing. You have child 1 through 10, then you got twins 11 and 12, twins 13 and 14, twins 15 and 16, twins 17 and 18. Am I reading this right? Yeah.
Care. So there, you would hope that, she's not going to be able to learn their location since she is accused of endangering the children. But this is interesting to me that a prosecutor thinks she's a potential risk to their safety after her lawyer, Tommy Stolle, has said.
I know, right, Nina? Like, ouch. Like, damn.
Publicly,
Just
like
one
she
set.
wants to be reunited with
You
her
got
children.
3.
She loves her children. She's getting care packages at the jail, and she's asking, "Can I give this stuff to my kids?" So it sounds to me like there's a lot here under the surface that we don't know about. When you read between the lines of this, what does it say to you?
Well, I think just by virtue of the fact that she is suggesting she wants reunited with the children, that should she be released, that she might make a effort to have contact with them. Obviously, the placements for the children would not be known.
And I'm gonna pause it right here because she just had twins on the in 2025. That's how I'm reading it. The way they got it displayed, it was making me think that these are their ages, but these are not their ages. They're just counting the number of kids in the house. So the numbers represent the number of children. Because I'm like, how you got twins 17 and 18? Am I tripping? They're going to be the same age, right? But yeah, so she has 18 kids, and she just had a set of twins in 2025. And then she had a set in 2024, a set in 2022. Well, damn, she had 2 sets of twins in the same year. She had a set in February 2022. Then she had another set later on in the same year of November 2022. Damn.
But given the whole very bizarre...
Keisha said her tools need to be tied. Man, you got 4 sets of twins. Like, damn. And the fact that you had 2 sets in the same year, I'm like... ouch. It's crazy to have 2, within less than a year apart, but you had, you gave birth to 4 in the same year. Like, damn.
Circumstances surrounding this case, they probably have a concern that
this is my first time ever getting into this case, but I'm like, wow, you have a lot going on, man. And no, you don't need custody of none of those children.
She might try and find out where the children are. Obviously, a proposed ankle monitor. We all know ankle monitors fairly regularly get, at least I have had defendants cut them off their ankle and no longer subject to monitoring, which would fit into their argument regarding flight as well as attempt to contact the children.
There's also another little tidbit of information here, very interesting and very important bit of information regarding Elizabeth Siders. The prosecutor says that she's already facing these 16 charges of child endangering, and these are F2s. And that includes causing, basically serious harm to a child. It's neglect, not providing a safe environment, causing serious physical harm, things of that nature. But he's saying when this goes to grand jury, he's going to ask the grand jurors to indict her on new charges.
And we're going to get into the grand jury video too as well, because that just came out recently a few days ago regarding to the new charges about Elizabeth Siders. So we're going to get into that after this one.
So that makes me think this is in addition to those 16 child endangering charges. What does that say to you? Because I don't know what other charges. My mind is spinning. What other charges could Elizabeth Siders face aside from child endangering?
Well, that was the most striking thing in the memo that the state filed opposing reduction in bond. And I think it's showing some cards to the public as well as to defense counsel that, look, you're looking at child endangering cases, but there's more coming. And it's more serious, and that is...
I wouldn't give her a bail. She might get pregnant when she's out on bond and use that as an excuse as to why she shouldn't be arrested or go back, knowing her.
Also, why she might try and flee, and that's also why she might try and reach her children to talk to them, to influence them one way or another in what their statements may be. In relating to the endangering children, but any other offenses that may have occurred while they're locked in this.
No, for real, dead serious. Nina, I'm thinking that's what's probably gonna happen if she gets out on bond. Like that's probably gonna be something she's planning or thinking about doing. Nah, she need to be right behind it. Stay where she at. She don't need to be let out at no point. Because it's really hard to tell whether she's faking it or she's really like has issues. Like, but you don't get a pass.
All room for many years. The key to this, I think, is among other things, is it's long going.
Yo, I can't stop looking at this. I can't stop looking at this chart. Let's just go down this list, yo. Because let's start with child number 1. You had your first one in 08. You had another one in 09. You had your third one in 2011. You had another one in 2012. You had the one again in 2013. You had another one in 2014. You had another one in 2016. You had another one in 2017. You had another one in 2019. You had another one in 2020. Like, damn, that is your whole life. Bearing kids. That is what you have done and accomplished in your 30-something years or whatever, how old you are. That is crazy. And I'm still stuck on 4 kids in 1 year. I'm not going to let that slide and let that go. This is crazy, y'all.
It wasn't just one discrete child endangering where a mother burned a child on the arm, and that's the basis for the single child endangering. This went on for years, where they weren't sent to school, where they were locked up, that they weren't allowed out, that their life was very much restricted, all those things.
In this tiny ass house, and you got all of these shit. No way. No way. Right, Nina. That's what I said. Like, I don't think she's playing when it comes to that, when issues like that could be. It might very well be the case. When you look at that picture that we just saw, like, of all of those since 08, like no self-worth or anything.
Add up to an equation of a long-standing neglect and abuse that below the radar should add up to something more than what we know.
I don't know what other charges she could be facing. You know, I don't want to speculate here, but I think that, you know, it goes without saying, the prosecutors already publicly said, you know, these children were hidden. I mean, he said that to the county commissioners in a meeting. They were the hidden children of Omer Street. He likes that a TV station calls them that. And the county is seeking permanent custody. There's not going to be any reunification. If the county is saying to the courts, we're seeking permanent custody of these children, I think that is signaling that this is incredibly serious and reunification is unlikely.
I think you're exactly correct. This case, ordinarily this kind of case, even though this is a case of its own, exclusive kind, a case like this starts with a request for temporary custody to children's services, either on an emergency basis or otherwise. And then you do an investigation, you see what you have, and then you look at the family unit and look at relatives. Or
if I was child number 1 and 2, I would have got the hell on, because they about 18. I would have left and never looked the F back.
Others that the child might be placed at. But here they're starting off right from the get-go seeking permanent custody, which again, as you say, says to everyone concerned that we don't think reunification with the parents of these children, the way they've been treated, is ever going to be in the best interest of those children.
And that's the legal standard in the state of Ohio, is the best interest of the child. It is in most states, I believe. What is in the best interest of the child? And there must be some evidence that we are not privy to that goes beyond, these are just poor people living in extreme poverty, because that's what a couple of the defense attorneys have said thus far. They're just poor. They're living in extreme poverty. Ron, they're not in school. They're not going to school. They're moving around to avoid children's services. Does this not signal to you that this goes beyond just being impoverished?
Right.
Certainly. I think there's very much information below the radar that we don't know yet, but we will find out when the case goes to court that would indicate.
What happened to the school systems calling your house though after you miss a certain amount of days? Like, whatever happened to that? Because it'd be like, I'm not trying to blame the school systems by any means, but when someone is not in school 30 days straight or something like that, you have to be nosy and curious about what the hell is going on. That's just human nature. I don't care. Like, you're gonna notice, like, okay, hey, I ain't seen such and such in about let's just do a welfare check or a welfare call to make sure they're not sick. And I believe after about a week, they do start calling your house, or at least I remember they used to, but I don't know how it is now. But some of these, systemic issues that we have, they have to change, and it starts with school systems as well as CPS. Because they were saying that these kids were hidden in this home. I'm trying to understand, how do you hide 16 kids in this small, tiny home that you call it?
The state believes that no time in the future should mom or dad or the grandparents have access to these children that have been so neglected for so many years.
If you love digging into the details of crime cases as much as I do, you must download the Law and Crime Plus app. If you haven't checked it out yet, here are 3 reasons to jump on board today. Number 1, you get complete access. Watch the best shows from both Law and Crime and Court TV completely ad-free. Number 2, you get the case files,
Nina,
deep dive
or used to
access
be.
to raw trial evidence, including body camera video, 911 calls, crime scene photos, and more. And finally, it is free. Absolutely.
Because I know when I
free
was,
for 30 days, we are giving
I think
all
here,
of our viewers
I think
a
it's
full
different
month
in
to
different
test it out,
places,
completely
but
risk-free.
different school systems do it differently. But even just, I'll say after like a couple of days, just check in, because you never know. If they sick, okay, the parent can confirm that. But if the parent ain't confirming nothing, then we need to be looking, okay, what's going on in this house? Because if the child ain't here and the parent's not confirming that they've been sick for real, we can't get no straight up answers, then something going on. Especially if they've been attending the school and then automatically, all of a sudden just stop. But if they've never attended school, that's all the more reason to be, investigate and see what's going on. And that comes from the neighbors, like, because they said that these kids were hidden in the home for a long time. I'm like, how in this small house, like, that you call it that?
So head on over to lawandcrimeplus.com, enter the promo code CrimeFix, and start exploring today. Now let's move on to Christina Siders. She is grandma, and grandma is in jail under the same bail conditions. And her lawyer has also asked that she receive a bail modification and be released on bail.
So everybody just want to get out, huh? Everybody just want to get out of jail. Don't nobody want to face the consequences of their actions, right? They just want to be out. No money, no nothing. They just want to be out.
Monitor, etc. As it stands right now, all of them have to post like $300,000 or at least a portion of that with a surety or something to that effect, and then wear a GPS monitor. As you stated earlier, those can routinely be manipulated, cut off, and honestly, you can cut off a GPS monitor and it might send an alert, and somebody might not even see it for a day or two, correct?
Yes, that frequently will happen, at least here in Franklin County. The systems that they use, as soon as it is cut off, it sends an alert to the pretrial release program that then will contact victims and counsel and say that the GPS has been disrupted. But I don't know what kind of system they may have down there. But more than that, the GPS is not monitored in real time. It is kind of like a look back. If it gets cut off, or if she would attempt to contact the children or go somewhere she shouldn't go, if there's restrictions on her movement, they aren't seeing that until they look for it. And that's one of the difficulties that typically occurs, you can put them in a certain restrictive zone, but unless they're going to give her house arrest, so to speak, where they could put it within 100 yards of the location where she's going to be staying, and then it would be programmed to alert the probation department or pretrial release. But absent that kind of restriction, then can't monitor it in real time. And often somebody with a ankle monitor will be out committing new crimes, and it's good evidence to prosecute them for the new crimes, but you don't have a real-time monitoring to observe or prevent the crimes.
Mm-hmm. So Grandma Christina, William Archer says, we have not 3 reasons like we do with Elizabeth to oppose a bail modification for her, but we have 2 reasons. And the first is a similar reason. It says she's facing multiple serious pending charges, the F2s for child endangering involving serious physical harm to the grandchildren, and thus is a flight risk. So he's saying Grandma is also a potential flight risk and a potential risk to the victims in this case.
And at least it seems to me that
and she ain't make the situation no better. You're supposed to be a grandmother teaching right, but doing right. But look who the mother learned from. Whole family sick.
the same rules apply to all of them, except perhaps maybe the grandfather, who seems to have sufficient mental health issues that he may not share the same kind of either flight risk or threat of harm to the victims or witnesses. But it seems to me that all of them are facing decades as a potential prison sentence. And they're also on notice that the state is going to seek permanent custody of the children.
Yeah, Nina, so that's what I had when we was growing up. We had school resource officers. Like they would actually have like the cop school police car, and they caught you. You get snatched up on whenever they caught you outside of school, and they would bring you back. Sure did. But now they had those school resource officers, but I don't think they do those anymore, where the truancy officers, bring you back. Now, I don't know if things have changed, but I remember doing it when I was growing up, they had them. That's why I say after a certain while, if you get caught skipping or if you miss a certain amount of days, that was the protocol to follow up with your people, with your family. Like, hey, we ain't seeing such and such. Is such and such okay? At that point, your parent or guardian will confirm whether or not what's going on in the house. And if they can't do that, that's just common. That's just human nature to get into it, to figure out what's going on. If you can't confirm what's going on with this child, then I'm calling somebody. Are they away? Are they staying at are they staying with their father, or are they sick? Or are y'all on vacation? What's the situation? If they can't confirm any of those type of things, then I'm like, okay, well, something is fishy, something is odd. You know what I'm saying?
Ask yourself, what reason do they have to stick around? Looking at decades in prison, there's very few reasons that they have to stick around.
He does not say in here that grandma is going to face serious new charges as he did with Elizabeth. So is it possible that she only faces those 16 child endangering charges? He obviously left that out of the opposition to her bail modification. What does that say to you?
Well, it says that mom and likely dad are the primary offenders here, and grandma and grandpa were in the house and maybe didn't take control, maybe didn't prevent them from causing the atmosphere that existed. But it sounds to me like they're more passive participants than active participants. And
then we also have the competency issue that William Archer writes about.
So they sat back and endorsed the behavior, but did not engage in the behavior. It ain't no splitting hairs with me. I mean, still, you deserve the same type of punishment, in my opinion.
Basically, she's at personal risk until her
because you did nothing to prevent it as well, while you're being passively involved, as he said.
Competency is known because that's been raised by her counsel.
Right, and at least in terms of competency, they want to be assured that she's not a risk of harm to herself or to others. And that is something that would be looked into during the competency exam. And so at this point, I can see why they are saying, look, let's look at this. There's competency issues. There's flight risk. There's a potential harm to
Look
the
how she's just
victims.
staring on into nothing though. Like she's not even, it's like she just checked out of life in this picture. Like she's not even looking at the police guard. She's just gone, like in a daze, like she off some shrooms or something. But it's really hard to tell if she's really like has its issues or she's faking. Like, I don't know, but
all this together, let's just keep her in jail until we see where we are. I'm interested to see how soon they may take it to the grand jury, because they typically have 60 days from the time it's bound over to the grand jury, and they've already consumed probably a month, maybe. In any event, they need to start getting the case together to present to the grand jury. And at that point, we will see what additional charges that have been waved around are included in the indictment.
Ron, you read my mind because that was going to be my next question to you. When do you see this case going to grand jury? Because it's been quite a bit of time now. Is this a case where maybe they only want to go once? They don't want to have to go back to the grand jury, on a continuing basis?
I think that's exactly right. I think they want to have what they are going to.
So I'm not even going to say
proceed on, included in the single indictment against all defendants, and include.
Because this picture right here, I want to ask: are they these two, Elizabeth and Gary? Are they brother and sister, or boyfriend and girlfriend? Which one?
Time now. Is this a case where maybe they only want to go once? They don't want to have to go back to the grand jury, on a continuing basis?
I think that's exactly right. I think they want to have what they are going to proceed on included in the single indictment against all defendants.
And grandma and grandpa look like brother and sister
against
too.
Each individual defendant. And they have a clock, at least under the rules of superintendents, of 60 days from the time a case is bound over from municipal court to common pleas court. And in this case, they're probably close to 40 anyhow, or more. And so at this point in time, I would think that it should go to the grand jury probably before Labor Day.
Well, we shall see, because we're all watching that calendar, and we'll see what happens. Ron O'Brien, thank you so much for your time and your expertise, as always.
Thank you, and very good to talk with you.
Elizabeth's bail is currently set at $300,000 if she's able to post it, which her attorney has already said she cannot. She will have to wear a GPS monitor. And remember, you can look at all of the documents, peruse through all of them on our Law and Crime Plus app. Check it out. We're going to keep an eye on all of this for you, so stay with us. I'm Anjanette Levy, and that's it for this episode of Crime Fix. I'll see you back here next time.
So we're about to get into the next video, part 2 to this, of the grand jury indictment. Hold on one second. Somebody said they do look alike, all of them. Yeah, that's what I said. Like, they really do. That's why I said, are they boyfriend and girlfriend, or are they brother and sister? And then the old couple, y'all got me saying it. They are a couple. The old couple look like they related too. So I'm like, it's kind of hard to tell. But now let's get into the grand jury indictment that they were speaking on. Hold on. Where's the video? Here it is. Hold on, guys. Don't forget to hit that like button. So now this is the video of the grand jury announcing new charges for the mother, Elizabeth Siders, in the House of Horrors from Ohio.
in the so-called House of Horrors case out of Ohio. The parents of 16 children indicted for alleged sex crimes against children, and they're not the only ones.
Is it 16 or 18? I mean, which one is it? I thought it was 18.
Facing charges. I'll explain. I'm Anjanette Levy, and this is Crime Fix.
I'm gonna look it up.
Nearly 2 months after state agents discovered 16 children in a home in rural Ohio, their parents have been indicted, and so have other people. Gary Siders Jr. and his wife Elizabeth were taken into custody on June 30th after their children were discovered in a home on Omer Street. Gary Jr.'s parents, Gary Sr. and Christina Siders, were also arrested. All were charged with 16 counts of child endangering and entered not guilty pleas. The elder Siders have now been indicted on felony and misdemeanor counts of child endangering. Elizabeth and Gary Jr. face similar charges and charges involving sex with minors. Here's Vinton County Prosecutor William Archer with the news.
These cases began as an investigation into family child sex abuse. Law enforcement sought the DNA of Gary Siders Jr. related to the child sex abuse case. Once Siders Jr. was located, search warrants were executed to secure his DNA for genetic testing. Upon serving the search warrants for the child sex abuse case, the existence and condition of the 16 children at the Omer Street house became known. The child sex abuse cases involve intra-family relations and do not pose a risk to the general public, and I would also add, does not involve human trafficking. This case all started with diligent Dollar General clerks calling authorities with concerns over children they observed. We asked the public to be mindful of the circumstances.
Hold on, let me read this real quick. So I guess it is 16. I thought it was 18, but it says Gary Siders and Elizabeth Siders were married in Mason County, West Virginia in 2008, when Elizabeth Siders was 15 and Gary Siders was 18 years old. At the time, West Virginia allowed marriages at any age with parental consent. So that will come from the parent, the old man and the old woman in the video, or yeah, that's being charged as well. They had to have given parental consent for that to have happened. It says officials reported that the Siders family had lived in various counties in Ohio since 2008, and that investigators believe the family had mostly failed to create medical and governmental records during that time. And it said on November 20th, 2022, Elizabeth Siders gave birth to two conjoined twins who died the same day of natural causes. So that's where they got 16 from, but it was originally 18. The children were discovered during search warrants at a residence in Hamden on June 30th, 2026. The warrants were connected to a separate investigation related to indecent exposure incidents perpetrated by Gary Siders II. According to authorities, Siders exposed himself to members of the public on 4 separate occasions on May 23rd, May 27th, May 29th, and finally on May 31st. Upon executing the search warrant, the children were found in a 12-foot by 12-foot room. Investigators stated they did not expect to find any children in the home whatsoever. The home was in an extreme state of disrepair, with reports stating first responders almost fell through the floor as it was so severely rotten by filth. That's disgusting. It was initially unknown if any of the Siders was the biological parents of the children, but an attorney for Elizabeth Siders confirmed she is the mother of all 16 children, meaning she was giving birth on a nearly annual basis over the course of 18 years, and that she was. And she's only 33. He's 36 and she's 33. It says the Ohio Attorney General's office announced that the 16 children inside the residence during the search were in severe state of neglect, including being covered in insects and feces, and were in all a 12-foot by 12-foot room. Officials said the children were taken out of the home and immediately transported to local hospitals. Some of them received care and were later released, while others were taken for more advanced medical treatment and remained hospitalized in serious condition. One child was allegedly intubated, and neighbors and officials said that they were unaware that any children were living in the home and school records did not indicate any children belonging to the Siders were enrolled in any schools. So how did this go? All of this went unnoticed for that long. That's crazy. Now, on July 7, 2026, attorneys for the Siders waived preliminary hearings, and Gary Siders, senior attorney, filed a motion seeking to reduce his client's $300,000 bond, citing health issues and raised concerns about his competency to stand trial. And that would be for the father, the old man. It says the judge granted a bond modification for Gary Siders, senior, with GPS monitoring required if he were to be released from the hospital. The children were placed in the custody of the Ohio Department of Child and Family Services, Department of Child and Family Services, after being removed from the residence. And it was reported that the children were taken to medical facilities around Ohio and remain in the custody of Children's Services at the current time. Yeah. Exactly, guys. Horrible, is to say the least. West Virginia, I didn't know they had that going on. They allow marriages with parental consent because they got married when she was 15 and he was 18. But the way this report described that, meaning she was giving birth on a nearly annual basis over the course of 18 years. That's exactly right. Sad, but true. That's dirty and falling apart. This is sad. Good job to the employees at the Dollar General store.
Circumstances around them, especially involving children. We continue to ask for the public's respect for the rights and privacy of the child victims in this case. I'd like to add a thank you to the Vinton County Sheriff's Office and BCI for their investigative efforts, which have been amazing. This case is going to be prosecuted by myself, Kara Keating, Assistant Attorney General, and Annika Collins, Highland County Prosecuting Attorney. Thank you.
So the prosecutor says this case involves family members. Vinton County Sheriff Ryan Kane elaborated on the investigation and how it started.
A Vinton County grand jury today has issued indictments in 3 criminal cases involving sexual abuse and child endangerment. These charges stem from criminal investigations conducted by the Vinton County Sheriff's Office and the Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigations, BCI. The cases are being prosecuted by the Vinton County Prosecutor's Office with the assistance from the Highland County Prosecutor's Office and the Ohio Attorney General's Special Prosecutions Unit. In December of 2025, at the request of the Vinton County Sheriff's Office, BCI's Special Victims Unit opened an investigation into allegations of sexual abuse involving 2 children. Information obtained in this investigation prompted BCI in March of 26 to open a second investigation, this one involving allegations of unlawful sexual conduct with a minor. On June 30th, authorities executed a search warrant at a residence in Hamden, Ohio, and Vinton County on Omer Street. There have been a lot of speculation and questions regarding the June 30th presence on Omer Street in Hamden. These indictments provide some insight into the ongoing investigation. However, to preserve the integrity of the ongoing investigation and to protect the victims, I conclude my statement here. I am thankful for the work of my deputies and our fellow partners at BCI. We will continue to pursue justice in these cases.
The grand jury has indicted Gary Siders Jr. and Elizabeth Siders on 4 felony charges each, 2 counts of sexual battery and 2 counts of unlawful sexual conduct with a minor. I've learned law enforcement learned of Gary Jr. and Elizabeth during a separate sex abuse investigation that started back in December of 2025. Okay, so to really dig into these breaking new details, I want to bring in Ron O'Brien. He is the former Franklin County prosecutor at Franklin County, surrounds and is part of Columbus, Ohio. So Ron, thank you so much for coming on. Just first of all, your reaction to both Gary Siders Jr. and Elizabeth Siders being charged with sex crimes involving minors.
Well, that was somewhat telegraphed, as we talked about the other day.
Yeah.
Statement of the prosecutor from Vinton County in opposing reduction of bond for Elizabeth. And so we knew something was coming. What seems surprising about this, and it is really unclear as to who the alleged victims are, it looks like the indictment or charges against the two siders go back to 2022, the first quarter of 2022, against unnamed victims, but they were related to the investigation of the other two people indicted on sex offenses today. Curiously enough, the press release indicates that the victims were not a member of the immediate family of the Siders, but at the same time, the statement given by the county prosecutor would seem that perhaps they were. So that's something that you and others are going to have to dig into and clarify.
Yeah, we're digging into that for sure and clarifying. And I want to read what the press release says. It says the indictment alleges that between January and September 2022, the defendants engaged in sexual conduct with a minor more than 10 years younger than their own age. The victim is not a member of their immediate family. So it said, that he said, this says not a member of the immediate family. However, the prosecutor said this was an intra-family thing. So are we left to believe it's not their own children, but potentially, another child in the family?
And at least since the two investigations were tied, the ones for which the indictment on the sex offenses against the Siders today arose from the investigation of the other two men indicted in the case. It may be that the same victims are involved, and that in the course of the first investigation, the victims relayed that the Siders also were involved either.
So it's both Elizabeth and Gary Siders, her husband, Gary Jr., who was facing new charges, 2 counts of each of sexual battery in the third degree, which is a third degree felony, and 2 counts of each of unlawful sexual conduct with a minor, which is a third degree felony. The victim is not one of their immediate children, but they believe that that's a relative of the family, is how they're trying to describe it.
With the knowledge of the 2 other men also indicted today, or whether or not they was a follow-up.
And I've learned that investigation 1, which involves Josh Saunders and Brandon Henderson, this is investigation 1 that it began in December of 2025. The information about Gary Siders Jr. and Elizabeth Siders was developed from that investigation. So that is what led the law enforcement officers initially to that house on June 30th. People were saying, oh, it's because they went there for a public indecency warrant for Gary Jr. I think you and I knew the whole time, and I've been saying the whole time, no, they didn't go there with a search warrant for a public indecency case. This was going to be much more serious.
Yeah, and I think we both kind of concluded that at the time, based on the conduct of the investigators. You don't have the Ohio Attorney General down in Vinton County for a warrant on a exposing case. And that's interesting how that exposing case may tie in with these subsequent charges. The only thing I can try and extrapolate from this is either the 2 men that are charged in the case as well are providing information to the prosecutor and the attorney general that led them to the Siders, or alternatively, the victims in that case provided information that the 2 men not only perped on them, but that the Siders were involved in sexual misconduct with them. Either of those options would tell me is
okay. So it sounds like some sick child trafficking stuff going on in here, because where did these 2 other individuals come from? So that's how pretty much these new charges came about, was because this is an unrelated separate case. The victim is not related to the Siders at all. So let me read this part, because now we have 2 more other individuals who were brought into it, or introduced into it. It says, The investigation launched in March into Gary Jr. and Elizabeth stemmed from a different child sexual abuse case in Benton County. That investigation began in December 2025 and involved sexual abuse allegations involving 2 children. In that case, 2 South Bloomingville men identified by Wilson as Joshua Saunders, 23, and Brandon Henderson, Sr., 40, were indicted and arrested Friday, August 21st. Saunders faces 4 charges, including rape and gross sexual imposition. And Henderson faces 21 counts, including multiple charges of child endangering, gross sexual imposition, and sexual battery. So this sounds like some child trafficking stuff going on. So what they're saying is that either these 2 individuals gave up that information about Gary and his wife at that time, or it could be the victims who were pretty much implicating everybody and bringing everybody down. So that's pretty much what it is. I don't think that the other 2 men are pretty much telling on the Sider family is to cut a deal with the state, but that could be a possibility or a theory. But given how much charges that they're facing, I don't believe that they would even cut them a deal like that. But if they do, that would be sick and crazy, and that would be something that I would discuss with the prosecutor on tell them how I feel. But I think more so it's the victim coming forward and telling on everybody and making sure everybody go down for it is what my opinion is. But I could be wrong. But that's what they're saying, that it can be one of the 2 as far as the other 2 individuals being involved in this whole entire ring, I want to call it, because that's what it is. Because they said that these 2 charges, these recent charges that the grand jury just came up with, they would never have known about them had they not been investigating those two other individuals. So either the victim came forward and told on everyone involved, or these other 2 men started implicating this family into things about what's going on. But everybody need to pay and suffer. So it shouldn't be no deals cut for nobody, in my opinion.
Likely as to how they got on the doorstep of the Siders with the search warrant this summer.
And, we still have pieces of this puzzle that we are assembling. One thing that really piqued my interest was that William Archer, the Benton County prosecutor, said that
it's funny how they voted for Trump, but yet it's still the poorest county, and yet Trump is still leaving you in despair. But yeah, I heard about it, Rainbow. Well, at least looking up, the demographics and the statistics and things like that of that county. But yeah, Trump supporters, but he ain't supporting none of y'all. That's the sad part about it.
Alert Dollar General employees contacted law enforcement about their concerns. About county prosecutor said that Alert Dollar General employees contacted law enforcement about their concerns about some of the children that they saw with Gary Jr. and Elizabeth Siders. They were very concerned. And so it seems like potentially we may have had a couple of different things going on here. We have Dollar General employees, and then we also have this investigation 1 where information is gathered and gleaned about the couple. And all of that was enough to potentially get this search warrant for the house on June 30th.
Yes, and at least it's probably the addition of all that kind of information, potentially from co-defendants, victims on the first case, and the children may have said something at the Dollar General to an employee there that piqued their interest and passed it on to law enforcement, and then they were already looking into the matters the other 2 men and the Siders had been involved in going back. That's 4 years that the alleged misconduct in that case is alleged to occurred.
What's very interesting to me about this, Ron, I went down to Benton County, and employees at the Dollar General said to me, I'm really sorry. I can't talk to you. I can't talk to you. And I thought maybe it was a corporate thing. Corporate came down on them and said, no, we don't do that. Because a lot of times when you're dealing with these big chains, you have to go through, the corporate media relations office and things of that nature. And now I'm wondering, were these the people that potentially called in to law enforcement?
And that well could be the case. And the law enforcement personnel would have told them not to talk to anybody such as yourself or others.
These allegations involving Gary Jr. and Elizabeth, as you stated, go back years. But as we know, things like this, I mean, it doesn't seem like it's usually a one and done. So the sheriff said that this investigation is ongoing. And we know from the Vinton County prosecutor telling the commissioners we're seeking permanent custody of the children that's going to happen, and they will more than likely be successful in obtaining permanent custody of the children, especially if there's a conviction on a sex crime. So I'm thinking to myself, if this investigation is ongoing, is there going to be more there? Are we going to see potentially more indictments?
Well, at least if they thought they had enough on inter-family sexual misconduct, I would have included it in the indictment today. And so either they don't have enough because it wasn't going on inside the family home, or the children are still in the process of being interviewed, going through social workers and psychological treatment and testing, and they may not want to proceed at this point. They can always, as you know, produce a superseding indictment with new charges, new victims after they're arraigned on this indictment and while it's pending.
Ron, let's move on now to the elder Siders. Gary Siders Sr. is 73 years old. He's out on a signature bond wearing a GPS bracelet. When he was released on that signature bond because of his serious medical issues, the Vinton County prosecutor said, look, he's not a threat to the public. But he and his wife, Christina, the grandparents, have now been indicted. They're facing 2 counts of child endangering felonies in the 2nd degree, 10 counts of endangering children, felonies of the 3rd degree, and then 7 counts of endangering children. Those are misdemeanors. They are not charged with any sex crimes. So how do you see their cases ending up? Because I mean, they're challenging their competency, or at least
but they shouldn't be allowed to see any of those children either, whether they are facing sexual crimes or not. They're still facing crimes, and they sat by and done nothing. And the son learned the blueprint from, I mean, how can you give your son okay to marry a 15-year-old? So at the end of the day, they have much responsibility just as the son does.
lawyers are saying they may not be competent to stand trial. However, they have not been charged with any sex crimes.
Yes, it's interesting that the elder Siders were not indicted on any sex offenses, either within the family or outside the family. They are just facing the multiple endangering children charges that range from.
And I really want to question, where was her parents? Because I know they said West Virginia, you have to get married with parental consent, which means that his parents gave him the parental consent to get married. But where was her parents?
Misdemeanor up to the 2nd degree felony. So what we can conclude from that is apparently they don't have enough evidence now to proceed on sex offenses inside that home, or alternatively, they never occurred.
Now, that was former Franklin County prosecutor Ron O'Brien with some analysis for us. Let's watch one more time what the Vinton County prosecutor and the sheriff had to say about this investigation.
A Vinton County grand jury today has issued indictments in 3 criminal cases involving sexual abuse and child endangerment. These charges stem from criminal investigations conducted by the Vinton County Sheriff's Office and the Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigations, BCI. The cases are being prosecuted by the Vinton County Prosecutor's Office with the assistance from the Highland County Prosecutor's Office and the Ohio Attorney General's Special Prosecutions Unit. In December of 2025, at the request of the Vinton County Sheriff's Office, BCI's Special Victims Unit opened an investigation into allegations of sexual abuse involving 2 children. Information obtained in this investigation prompted BCI in March of 26 to open a second investigation, this one involving allegations of unlawful sexual conduct with a minor. On June 30th, authorities executed a search warrant at a residence in Hampden, Ohio, and Vinton County on Omer Street. There have been a lot of speculation and questions regarding the June 30th presence on Omer Street in Hampden. These indictments provide some insight into the ongoing investigation. However, to preserve the integrity of the ongoing investigation and to protect the victims, I conclude my statement here. I am thankful for the work of my deputies and our fellow partners at BCI. We will continue to pursue justice in these cases.
These cases began as an investigation into family child sex abuse. Law enforcement sought the DNA of Gary Siders Jr. related to the child sex abuse case. Once Siders Jr. was located, search warrants were executed to secure his DNA for genetic testing. Upon serving the search warrants for the child sex abuse case, the existence and condition of the 16 children at the Omer Street house became known. The child sex abuse cases involve intra-family relations and do not pose a risk to the general public, and I would also add, does not involve human trafficking. This case all started with diligent Dollar General clerks calling authorities with concerns over children they observed. We ask the public to be mindful of the circumstances around them, especially involving children. We continue to ask for the public's respect for the rights and privacy of the child victims in this case. I'd like to add a thank you to the Vinton County Sheriff's Office and BCI for their investigative efforts, which have been amazing. This case is going to be prosecuted by myself, Kara Keating, Assistant Attorney General, and Annika Collins, Highland County Prosecuting Attorney. Thank you.
Gary Jr., Elizabeth, and Christina Siders remain in jail. They will have to be arraigned now that they have been indicted on these new charges. And remember, you can read the entire Siders case file on our app. It's called lawandcrimeplus.com. And that's it for this episode of Crime Fix. We'll be keeping an eye on the Siders case for you as it unfolds. I'll see you back here next time.
You know, I won't be so sure. He can't be so quick to say this does not involve human trafficking, because we don't know what's going on. We know we have an entire set of 2 other individuals who don't have anything to do with this family that's involved as well too. So you really can't be so presumptive to say that as of right now. I think that would be a little bit premature, and that's just my opinion. As far as the Siders, they are still, you know, fighting this case. The grandfather, I'm saying not the grandfather, Gary Sr. or Gary Siders Sr., he's out on bond due to his medical issues. All 4 of these relatives have pretty much filed motions for competency evaluations, and they have been granted. So we're going to go ahead and see what those tell about, you know, these 4 individuals. They haven't had those hearings as of yet, though, but they should be coming pretty soon. But that's all I got, folks. I appreciate y'all kicking it with me on this Friday night. Don't forget to smash the like button and subscribe to the channel if you're not. I will be back next week, Monday. I have a new stream time, 6 p.m. Eastern time. So I will be back next week with some new stories, new cases, new court documents to go over. But that's all I got, folks. Y'all have a good one and stay safe.